Welcome. I'm Ingrid Carlsen, and I am so happy that you're here with me today, whether this is your first time watching my channel or if you've been with me for a while. A big hug to you. Today, we are making rust on paper 3 different ways, and the best part is it's all non-toxic. And make sure you vote down in the comments and let me know which is your favorite, 1, 2, or 3. I have absolutely no idea where the label for this paint went, but what you're going to want to do is pull out 4 colors, a black, a brown, which can be, like I'm showing you here, burnt umber or raw umber, then whatever this orange kind of brick color is, and then a gold ochre or yellow ochre, as well as a stiff brush that's going to act like a stipple. I'm going to take my palette, which in this case is some wax paper, and I'm going to lay little dollops of all of the paint right next to each other. That way it'll make it easier for me when I'm painting. I'm going to start by stippling on the dark colors first and then going to the lightest. This process is really fun, and honestly, it's really up to you how much you want it to look rusty or dirty. If you want it more like kind of dirty looking, then I would add more dark, and if you want it more rusty, then I would add more of the yellow and orange. And making your own imitation or faux rust is a really great idea, especially if you're anything like me and you worry about breathing in any of the rust particles. And so this way you get the look of the rust without having any of the adverse effects of it. You can definitely use regular paper, but I really thought it would be nice to have some texture on my cardstock, and the embossing folders just give it so much depth, and you get those little crevices where the paint kind of settles, and it's just a wonderful texture. I think option number 2 is probably the most fun because you get to play with your materials. We're going to take some distress stain or ink pad, ink, whatever it's called, and we're going to just, using a leftover piece from packaging, I'm going to just smear my stamp on it, and then I'm just going to add a little tiny mist of water. The more water you add, the less opaque your paint is going to be. So you can definitely do this and keep building up your color if you want. But if you want it to be darker, then you're going to add less water. I think that option number 3 might be the most realistic and also the least realistic at the same time. So I'm going to use the paint technique, but this time I'm not going to be so picky about where I want my paint. I'm actually going to combine all 3 colors, 4 colors at once, and just smear it onto the page. And then I'm going to sprinkle it with some cinnamon. The reason that I say that it's the most realistic, because as soon as the cinnamon goes down and it kind of makes contact with the paper, it really does look like rust. I mean, it is so realistic. The problem is, though, that unless it has time to sink into that paint, that cinnamon will just come off of your paper, and I'm going to show you later. I'm going to do this one and then another one where I have a lot thicker paint, and you're going to see where I have much less residual of the cinnamon. So if you are going to try this step, I definitely think that you're going to want to use more paint. You want that cinnamon to kind of soak into the wetness of the paint and become embodied. I also thought about maybe spraying it with like a spray varnish. That might work to help seal it. If you have any tips or tricks that you do, if you've done this option before, I would love to know them down in the comments. These are the finished product, and I wanted to give you these are the papers once they've dried. So you can see this one, and I have natural light coming in over here so that you could really see the colors really well. And so this was the first example that we did. This one is also the first with the 3 acrylic colors. Like, that's really good. So if you like it more of that tone, then you would add more of the light colors. If you like more this tone, you'd add more of those colors. This is the Vintage Photo Distress Oxide, which is really great. I mean, that really looks like rust. The only thing with this is that you're going to use a lot more product, I guess. And some of it was because this has ridges because of the embossing. then it didn't like seep through. So I think it would have been more product if I would have like right here where you can see where that's flat. But I really love this, and I love this look too where it's not like completely saturated, but it still definitely looks like rust in my opinion. Okay, this is the third process, and this is the cinnamon. So I went ahead and shook this off more. I made sure, and all these are completely dry now. I also took a napkin, and you can see right here, I wiped it off to make sure I didn't have any extra product on here. Now, let's see. You can still see lightly, there is cinnamon. My room smells delicious. If you're going to do the cinnamon, I would definitely suggest that you saturate the paint. So it needs to be gloppy paint, because you can see here, oops, it still is the cinnamon that's actually paint. So hold on, that was a little wet. Let's do this finger right here. So you can see a little bit, but it's definitely not as much as that one. But it is, listen, it's going to mimic rust even more because it is going to leave a residue. You can see it here on my desk surface. And so now you get to pick whichever one you want. So let's go ahead and use one of these or a couple of these, and let's make a little project together. We made this little matchbook on Patreon, and I did not decorate the back, so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to be using my new collection that's going to come out with my Bible study in November, and make sure that you stay tuned. I don't have all the details yet. It's almost done, and then I'll give you all the details so that you can join in. It's absolutely free, and I'd love for you to join us in doing it. And these are some of the papers that I'm using. I absolutely love this little collection, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it, and I hope that you love it as well. I'm going to go ahead and let you finish watching the design process of this little back cover. And I just want to thank you again for being here and for spending your time with me. If you are so inclined, I would really appreciate it if you liked, comment, shared, all those things. All of that really helps me out, and every single one of your comments and any of those things really does make a difference. And I just want to tell you that I thank you from the bottom of my heart for any contribution that you have. And before you go, I just wanted to remind you that you are cherished, you are seen and heard by God, and you are loved. Until we meet again, love you. Bye. I will say my room smells so good right now. I just smell cinnamon. It's so fitting for this time of year. I'm going to grab this mixed media book that I have my ephemera in, and I'll have the link to how to make this down below in the description.